Hey guys, Rick here. If you're looking to transition into the games industry from another industry, so you've got a little bit of experience doing some stuff somewhere, then generally what I see is you've got two paths, a slower path and a quicker path. Now the slower path tends to be if you want to be creating the game itself, working in a core competency area making the game, programming, art, game design. Typically they're the areas. To a lesser degree sound design, but it's a smaller part of game creation. Those three, programming, art, game design. Within art there's a whole bunch, 3D, 2D, animation, lighting, lots of areas in there, and obviously within programming as well. Now, if you're starting from absolute scratch, I don't really know programming at all, then you're looking at it's slow. There's a long-term journey. You're probably going to have to go back to school. You're going to have to practice a lot. You're going to have to learn just how programming works. And generally what I see is that's at least a couple of years. 1 to 3, maybe 4 years of getting to the point where you've got the skills, the programming knowledge to be able to do that. Scripting is a terminology where people working within the engine needing to know some code, needing to hook things up, make things function, etc., but not necessarily building the architecture of the game, building the underlying code. Scripting can be a little bit quicker, still a core competency, maybe 6 months to a year to 2 years, depending upon, your aptitude and how you go about doing it. Art is very similar. If you're starting with zero art, like you don't even sketch, and you haven't really done any 3D work at all, you're looking at least a year to 2 years. It's a slow journey. You have to get good enough to compete with the other people who are already doing that. The people who went off to art school, and they've been doing art their whole life. So that's a slow path. Similar with game design. Game design is a little bit more ambiguous, a little bit more fluid, because you could be the sort of person who's been thinking about games your whole life, playing games your whole life, kind of coming up with designs your whole life, and you can be a little bit closer, but it's a core competency, and people are expecting a certain degree of excellence in terms of starting as a game designer. So they're the slower paths for those people thinking about it. Now, that you could be looking at that saying, that's cool, I want to do those things, I'm willing to put in the time, do what it takes, maybe go back to school, maybe learning on my own, maybe practicing, etc. The faster path are the things that are either supporting or managing the process of making the game. So what I mean by that are things like QA, quality assurance, where you're testing the game, and you can have transferable skills very easily. You might have worked in some sort of quality assurance, you might have worked with software, you might be the sort of person who's got a good eye for detail. You might just be able to show that you're good at documenting, and you can prove to them, I'd be good at doing that. And there's a quicker path. You don't need to go to school to do QA, is what I'm saying there. Similar community management. There's a lot of transferable skills. If you've been working in anything to do with social media, customer support, you're the person answering the phone and giving support or help for some other software or anything in general, then your skills are a lot more transferable. It's a faster journey. Other areas are project management, like being a producer or a project manager on a games project. You're still part of the machinery making the game, but you're not actually in there doing the coding or the art or the design. And then also, to a lesser extent, a little bit slower, is product management and, say, being an analyst. And these are very, very important roles in free-to-play games, very highly sought after. It's hard to find people with the skills and the experience. So companies are a little bit more willing to say, okay, you've done some analyst-type things in the past, come work for us, we'll give you a shot and we'll train you up. Product managers tend to be a little bit further down the road, but if you've done product management in other fields, and you understand brands, you understand price points, you understand engagement with players or engagement with your customers, product launches, all those sorts of things, then you'll have transferable skills. Other areas, esports coordination, you could be the sort of person who's done a lot of event coordination, and then you can step in more easily that way. And marketing in general, there's a lot of marketing roles. So they're just a few areas where it's supporting the process of making the game, as opposed to I'm actually making the game myself. Okay, and the journey for you to go from here I am right now to here, in every single one of those roles, whether it's a fast one or a slow one, is always going to be contingent upon you've done it at least once. So here's a tip for you in this video. If your resume says, I was the marketing guy at a food company, I was the community manager at my local school, I was I've done a whole lot of blogs and articles in the fashion area, that's great, there's some transferable there. But in the games industry, it's competitive. There's lots of opportunities, but you need to be good and you need to present yourself in the most suitable light. And the most suitable light, somewhere on your resume or LinkedIn, I'm big on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile has at least one time where you've done it in a games context. That can be voluntarily, so you've volunteered, you've helped someone out on their project, you've worked with an indie, you've found an opportunity to do that kind of thing. You've been a project manager on a student project. You've been a project manager on a small indie team. So to show that you've actually done it within a games context, that's the important thing. So the slow way, you might have to go back to school. You might have to just sit there and practice programming, practice your art, practice your game design. It takes a long time, practice working on examples. That's the slow way, and there's a path. The faster way, look to see how can I transfer this, how can I make my previous work look very applicable, and then find at least one area where you've done that thing, the role you wish to get in the games industry, for example, community management. You've done community management in relation to games at least once somewhere. Just a quick point, hope that helps. As always, shoot me a comment below if you've got any questions. I love hearing from you guys. I always like to answer your questions. If you like this, thumbs up. I'll do some more transitioning into the games industry stuff. If you guys give me some thumbs ups and like this, I'll do some more of these sorts of videos. Hope this one helps. Talk to you again soon.